What's going on? Bill DeWeese here, pro voiceover talent and voiceover career coach. And I hope you're staying well. I hope your family's staying well during this time of quarantine for most of us. And I hope you're finding ways to connect and learning to use Zoom. If you haven't been using Zoom, it's interesting. It's like churches now streaming online. We were meeting with a group of friends last night. We're using Zoom to do that. We're using Skype and FaceTime to communicate with our grandkids and children. So it's interesting for all of us. But maybe it's a good time to learn to be at peace with the quietness, around home. And of course, if you have a lot of kids, it may not be the case, but it is an opportunity, I think, for most of us to reconnect with something that's important to us, whether it's the quiet or whether it's the activity of our kids or whatever your scenario is. I hope you're making the best of it. So I was working with a student the other day, a coaching session, a gentleman who was asking for my input on his performance, the work he's doing behind the microphone. He's a successful voiceover talent. He's very good, very good. And as I listened to his material, the thing that stood out to me was something that I think most of us who come from a broadcast background have to deal with. And that is, most of us who come from a broadcast background, be it TV or radio, tend to have a lot of polish to our presentation. There's what I refer to as a kind of a shiny veneer that covers everything. So that when we're speaking, everything is very controlled. Maybe control is the best word that I can use. It's all very controlled. The pacing is controlled. The inflection is controlled. It's very controlled. Nothing is left to chance. So therefore, it sounds pretty. It sounds smooth. It sounds nice, and you may get a lot of compliments on how great you sound. That's not a bad thing, by the way. There are times when that can come in very handy as a voiceover talent. But the thing that I was talking to this talent about in particular was the fact that, okay, you've got that down. You're good. You're smooth, especially when it comes to things like retail reads that require a certain amount of sell and urgency, promos, trailers, that kind of thing, I think is where this kind of read can be more appropriate than in others. But I told him that what he was lacking was, and here's the word I used, was vulnerability. And I could see the wheels begin to turn in his mind, and he thought about that, and he said, yeah. He said, I think that's a good word to describe it, because he immediately understood and recognized what I was saying. Because think of it this way, there's part of us that we want to control everything. And when we're taught and trained from the very beginning to analyze our scripts by going through and marking it up and putting in commas and, where we want to pause and the words we want to emphasize. And by the way, that's not a bad thing. But when that's the emphasis, when it's we'll call it a technical emphasis on delivery, we become good at being very measured and precise and controlling in what we do. And while we have to maintain a certain degree of control of what we do, because there's timing issues and other issues, for the person, think of it about on the person on the receiving end, because ultimately we don't do this for our own entertainment or even the entertainment of our clients necessarily. There is a target audience in mind. And ultimately, and always keep this in mind, always, as Stephen Covey once said, begin with the end in mind. Know what your destination is. This voiceover has to connect with an audience. If it doesn't matter how pretty you sound. It doesn't matter how smooth you are. It doesn't matter how controlled you are and how great you sound. If it doesn't connect, if it lands on deaf ears, then it's all for naught. There's no reason to it. And our reads only connect, and let me share something. I've shared it before, and I say this to all of my students, and I'll say it again. Ultimately, for a voiceover to work, meaning if you want to get hired, when somebody hears your audition, or when somebody hears a project, if you want it to be compelling, it begins with the end. And the end is the person listening has to feel something. You have to generate some sort of emotion in them. Otherwise, they don't believe you. You're just a voice. And when it comes to movies, we know this. We watch a movie and we see the same actors in different movies. But a good actor and a good script for those 90 minutes, 120 minutes, we forget. Reality is suspended there for a moment. We forget that is that paid professional actor that's being paid to do this, that they're not that person. We identify with them. That's why we get angry. We become sad. We cry because we identify and we empathize because they caused us to feel something. That's what we have to do. How does that work? Well, let's work it backwards, the chain of events. They believe us because they feel something. They feel something because you feel something when you read the script. That's the chain of events. You feel it, they feel it. Therefore, they're compelled to act on it. Make sense? It's a simple formula. It's simply said. It's not necessarily simply done. But that's the chain of events. That's how it works. So my student I was telling, okay, we have to go from being controlled to vulnerable. I want you to hang on to that word, vulnerable. So these are the two ends of the spectrum. Controlled, where everything's very measured, it's very precise. And then there's vulnerable. And it doesn't mean it's uncontrolled necessarily, but what it does mean is that we get past that slick veneer. You can never sound good enough for somebody to make somebody believe you or to feel something when you speak. As a matter of fact, often being that good, that slick, actually works just the opposite. People don't believe you because you sound, you're just another talking head. You sound great, but there's no crack, there's no chink in your armor. Vulnerability is when we allow ourselves to feel something when we read it. You're allowing them a window into your soul. I know this is starting to sound a little touchy-feely, maybe a little ethereal, but this is the magic sauce of voiceover. Your vulnerability allows the person listening to feel what you're talking about. And when they feel what you're talking about, they believe you for that moment. That story becomes yours. And they believe and feel that this is your story. Therefore, they're compelled to listen. That's how you win auditions. And that's how you get hired to keep coming back again and again to record projects for clients. So how does that work in real life? Well, I'm going to pull up a script here. This is just a very short script. And by the way, this process works. I don't care whether you're doing something that calls for, like in this case, a sense of compassion, or whether it's excitement and urgency because of a sale, and those are kind of two extremes. The process is the same. The emotion will be different. The story is different. The audience is different. The outcome will be different. The read will be different, but the process is always going to be the same. So here's the script. Okay, now, if I were to read this in a controlled manner, the broadcast way, the way I was trained, the way I did for well over 2 decades behind a microphone, I would approach it like this. Here's to you and your pursuit of the best things in life. Here's to being healthy through it all. Baptist Health. Be a healthier you. I might read it faster. I might read it slower. Here's to you and the pursuit of the best things in life. Here's to being healthy through it all. Baptist Health. Be a healthier you. And oftentimes, somebody thinks, well, because I read it faster or slower or louder or softer, it's a different read style. And it's really not a different read style. It's different pace, different intensity, but it's the same read. And I hear this in demos that people send me, where it's the same read over and over again, faster, slower, louder, softer, but it's the same read. It changes when we know we're talking to a different audience and then we identify with the emotion. So if I'm going to take that approach, this is the way I would read it. Here's to you and the pursuit of the best things in life. Here's to being healthy through it all. Baptist Health. Be a healthier you. Or, here's to you and the pursuit of the best things in life. Here's to being healthy through it all. Baptist Health. Be a healthier you. Now, if you can't perceive the difference between the two, I would suggest you go back and listen again and just listen multiple times and listen very carefully to see if you can detect the subtleties. And the subtlety wasn't well, yes, it wasn't the way I read it, but the way I read it, that's not what I was thinking. The difference is what was going in my mind and what was going through my heart. I was envisioning in the second read. The first time I was thinking about how I said it. The second time I was thinking of who I was talking to. Here's to you in the pursuit of the best things in life. That's something you're going to say to a loved one, maybe to a spouse or a partner or to a child. If you were talking to your child and you said, how would you say that? Hey, Bobby, here's to you and the pursuit of the best things in life, because we really want the best things for our kids and for the people that we love. And so if you want to make it non-generic and you want to make it compelling and you want it to connect and land on the listener, you've got to make that personal. Here's to being healthy through it all. And don't we want that, again, for our kids, for our loved ones? This is basically, you're like toasting somebody that you love and care about. You know, you could literally be on the verge of tears when you read this. Nothing wrong with that. Baptist Health, be a healthier you. You have to mean the words when you say it. You have to make it personal. You have to identify with something you've done, somebody you know. If you don't make it personal, you might sound pretty. It may sound nice. It may sound smooth. It may sound professional. But that can be the death knell, oftentimes, of a read. If it's only slick and it's only sounds good and it sounds professional and smooth, I'm not saying you won't get work. You certainly will get work. But at the higher echelons of voiceover, this is where you make your money. This is what makes the difference between the 99% and the 1%. It's making it personal. It's feeling it and then communicating that feeling to your listener. I hope you found this helpful. And again, I hope that you're doing well during this, this challenging time. And because of what's going on right now, I'm segueing into another topic. I know that for many people, you're trying to deal with financial issues and difficulties, trying to find a way to really, do business from home, make money from home. And those of you who are watching this probably are aware that voiceover is a great opportunity. So I'm working on right now a 4-week class. It would be 4 one-hour sessions where we cover the foundational things about building a voiceover business, going more in depth and answering your questions and all of that. So the idea is that this is a 4-week class that will cost less than $100. That's the premise of the whole thing. I am working on it now, and very soon, probably within the next few days, I will announce the specifics, the date, the price, how to sign up. And I want to give you an opportunity to get the information you need to make this happen. Because wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to find a way, to have a way to use what you already have, your voice, your personality, your point of view, your experience, to use that to connect with other people and to generate an income at the same time. And again, check back to this channel as I'll be posting information as more details develop on that. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate you checking out the video today. I hope you found it very helpful. I hope you'll practice implementing this strategy in your reads, because I tell you, it will make a huge difference in the results that you get. Thanks again. Like, share, subscribe. We'll talk soon.